And now we're back. Now we're online after too many too many issues. We are now online. So okay, so we're back online with another review of the week. Last week we did one which covered the entire month of July, and today we're doing just the review of this week. And we have Nick joining me as a co-host. Uh, Again, we are improvising here. That's the beauty of live streams. And what we're gonna do is just go over some of these topics, which are part of our newsletter we sent out today, and obviously we'll discuss some of them and see what's up. Good plan. All right. So this week we had a few um, um, interesting things happening. Um, the first one is the skill sets, which we've launched a template library uh, of 77 skill set abilities, which people can use to create the advanced skill set options or skill set abilities. And in this announcement, we have the a bit of a description of what this library looks like, and also how to contribute to our public open source repository where we hold all the skill sets. Um, actually, let me. I'm not Nick. I'm not sure if you have seen this already, but I'm sure we've discussed it online. Yeah. So the which one of these? Let me see. I need to switch to another account here, I think. So I'm talking about if we create the new skill set and we create a new ability, which is fairly quick. This new feature can be accessed here, and it's pretty cool. We can search for some of these instruction templates here. We have a couple platform ones like search data sets, fetch web page, post data to a web API. These are the standard ones. But now we also have things like trigger Zapier webhook, make trigger and make hook. This is Integromat as well. We have a couple related to Shopify, Notion, Twilio, News API, Coin API, Slack, of course, Discord, Trello, Panache, SendGrid, Facebook. It's pretty good library. It's only 77 of them. Huh? It is extensive, but obviously the idea here is that we want to continue improving this, and we need some community support. This is why, obviously, we have the library here, and people can use it. For example, like this, you can easily now customize that instruction to your specification. But if somebody wants to use to contribute, for example, any other startup that potentially also want to add their abilities to ChatBotKit, they can do that in a very clever way. So rather than creating some complicated extensions like Zapier, what they can do is simply come to this repository. We have a few instructions here how to clone the repository, but it's very standard process, you know. So if you know how to work with Git, you'll be able to do that. And then in the instructions, they can simply add it in. So as I said, we have 77 of them, and yeah, people feel free to add your extensions anyway. Here, the format is pretty simple. We have a bit of a description at the top that gives you an overview how to add um, a new entry into the database. And of course, if you are not familiar with skill sets, you can always read the documentation. But yeah, the idea is that we should grow this quite rapidly from now on with the help of the community. And of course, we are making our own contributions as well. And the beauty of this is because it's open source. If somebody else wants to reuse some of this um, skill sets in other applications outside of ChatBotKit, they can certainly do that. And that's great. You know, the one thing that I like the most uh, with this approach, to be completely honest, but this also kind of shows that I'm uh, more keen to. Uh, I'm no more custom editing code. The one thing that I like the most about this approach is that you have full control over the requests that you want to make, and this is a little bit different because if you're using something like Zapier, then unfortunately you're constrained by the actual integration, the app, and most of the apps they're fairly limited, so you can't do a lot of things because they're not programmed. And this approach basically gives you complete freedom. Let me show you one example with Shopify. Let's say that we want to search for products on Shopify, and that's all we need to customize. That's all we need to do that. You can customize your domain. So just put your domain. Let's say test. Of course, you need the secret, which is the Shopify access token. This one we don't need to customize. This is the search query that comes in from the bot. But the interesting bit is this one. This is where we get the GraphQL um, information from Shopify. And at the moment, we are returning the ID, the title, description, the store for the URL for the item, and also the image. But imagine that you want to also include the price. Now, I don't know how it is done exactly, but let's say it's called price. I'm not sure about the field name. And you can just include it like this, and voila, you have it all done, which makes it pretty cool. Easy to customize, easy to extend, and of course, if people want to contribute like a custom case for this search, something that is pretty common, but it's kind of like similar to this one, you can do that. You can just add another Shopify item here. So more examples. The more examples, the better. That's what I say. Yeah, yeah, true, true. I think maybe we can take some of these examples and convert them into templates. Uh, they're fairly straightforward. So, for example, this one, the movie recommendation skill set, it has two abilities. I mean, those are pretty easy um, to convert to templates. All it takes is just copy this, add it to the file, publish it, and then it should be available as a template. Uh, yeah, I think that the going forward, um, maybe what we can do is first of all create the item here in the hub, test it with the help of the community, and then once we are happy, we can just push it as a template. Yeah, quite a few, quite a few. Mostly bots, not so many skill sets, but there's a lot of community contributions. Yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about this because um, the more examples we have of these, the better the easier it will be to set up new abilities. And I think this is when things will start getting very interesting. Uh, like bots that can actually do all kinds of actions, interrogate all kinds of systems. I heard recently from someone that they were making a bot on ChatBotKit that includes like ten different abilities within a single skill set. That was very interesting use case for me. But that's what I'd like to see. Imagine at some point a single bot has, I don't know, 100 different skill sets, and they can interact with different systems from the internet, and perform like all kinds of interesting actions. I think this is the birth of what, basically our vision of agents and what agents could look like on the ChatBotKit platform. Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that because we started with the data sets at the beginning, when ChatBotKit started, the data set was the first thing, and this was the RAG before the RAG. I don't think anybody was calling it RAG at that point. That's why we call it data set. you know, yeah, it was a new thing. Maybe they did, but it was pretty niche. And so we start with the data set. But if you guys remember, we were discussing even back in those days, it would have been cool to program in a natural language, and this is how the skill sets were born. And I think what's interesting about them is that if you look at OpenAI and if you look at some of these other, um, like some of the large language models that are out there, they have this concept of function calling. But in order to create these functions, you need to set them up, in a programming environment. So you need to create, an actual functions with actual code. Yeah, definitely, exactly. And with the skill sets, yeah, yeah. I mean, this looks like a programming, but it could be worse. I mean, this is just simply a web request. I think this is pretty much as close to n- zero or like low code environment as it gets, because you don't even need to set up any workflows, or like using like a visual coding workflows and things like that, similar to what Zapier does and some of the other platforms. So I'm a fan of this, uh, but I think with the templates we can get it very far, because I think one of the challenges with using the instructions in this sort of way, and by the way, this is not applicable just for us. This is true pretty much for everybody. Is that you need to know how this third-party system works. In this case, Shopify, and so this requires a bit of understanding of how to create these requests. And with the templates, we're making it easier for everyone because everyone can actually customize this template, but they don't need to research, for example, how GraphQL works in Shopify, in the context of Shopify. They can just use the template and customize it. And the beauty of this, by the way, I just want to open a bracket here, is that in this example here, it also can contain comments, so we can add a comment here if you want to. We can create a template with comments, so we can add some additional instructions how to customize it if you want to do that. Makes it perfect. Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think there's a few things we can. We already have syntax highlighting, which is a good start. Um, but I think yeah, in future iterations of the platform, we can we can definitely create sort of like what you see is what you get, text-based editor where you can write this and customize them in a very visual way, but still use text. I think the key is text, frankly, if you ask me. Yeah. Yeah, and also the other thing uh, which is also it's a side effect of having good template library is that we can improve the skill set magic, or the ability magic. Because if you click on here, you can describe what you want to do. So you can say, I want an ability to create a Notion database, for example. And we can use the templates to train our internal models to generate uh, better instructions like this one. Now I can't say if this is gonna work because I'm not sure. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But from what I know, I think it might work actually. So this is actually a pretty good example here. Uh, but we can use the templates also to train the algorithms. So in most cases, you wouldn't even need to write it. All you have to do is just explain what you want, and then ChatBotKit will write the rest for you, which is great. Yeah, the more examples, the better. So yeah, that's this. This is a pretty big one. Let's see what's next. Uh Now to me, this is also a very big item on the list as well. Um, Basically, what you can do is if you deploy the widget, you can create you can assign a contact to the current widget instance. And by the way, we do this automatically on our website. So if you're logged in and if you want to use the ChatBotKit widget, when you chat to the widget, we already associate this conversation with your details. And this item here, uh, or this change, is all about this. Basically, how to assign a contact to the current widget instance. Um, I think that there's more in the documentation, and I think let's see, contacts. Um, Actually, we only discussed the method, but it's fairly simple thing to do. All you have to do is just call this, um, with the name, the email, or the phone number. In fact, you can just provide only partial information, and that's okay too. And yeah, the whole idea is that when if you put the widget on inside your application, you can associate all the conversations with your users, which means that when you preview the conversations in the dashboard, for example, if I go here, actually, bots. I don't think we have examples, but when you preview the conversations in the dashboard, they'll be linked to your contacts or to your users, which makes it very easy to follow on existing conversations and to have a picture of which user is doing what. Um, I think it's a great change. Ab- Mhm. Yeah, and also simplifies a little bit the improves the user experience when you want to collect leads. Because if you turn on the contact collection feature on the widget, this means that uh, use obviously users which are anonymous, they'll be prompted to input their contact details. But imagine in the case of a logged in user, the user is no longer anonymous, so they don't need to really input their details because you should have these details already. So with one line change, customers can simply set the contact at the widget initiation or initialization, and then the user is never prompted to fill their contact details because the bot already knows who they are. We can actually use this feature in the future to do very cool things. Maybe even with skill sets. For example, if you want to kind of like create a widget that also can look into the customer account, things like that. So yeah, it's a cool new feature. It's fairly simple thing um, to set up. Where is it? I think I need to go back. Yeah, that's all we need to do uh, to assign a contact to your widget. Awesome. Let's see what's next. Um, oh, and speaking of the devil, actually, there is a tutorial how to do it. I knew that there was some additional information somewhere. Uh, this is the setup process. You embed the widget in the normal way, and then you can create a function called ChatBotKit widget init, get the instance, get the current authenticated user name and email, and just assign it. And that's all you need to do. In fact, you can assign it as many times as you like. I mean, probably won't have that kind of use case, but imagine if you have some kind of account switch functionality. Obviously, every time the user switches switches their account, you can just call this function with the new details, and that's gonna do the magic. So very simple tutorial, easy setup. Uh, what's next? The next thing is a reflection. The reflection is our blog. For those of you who don't know, so in this reflection or in this blog post, we are discussing why sometimes new is not always better, or new AI models are not always better. And this was an observation that we had internally when deploying some of the new models like GPT-4o Mini. Uh, on the first day after the announcement, because the model was so cheap, and I think it's twice cheaper than GPT 3.5, and because uh, it was advertised as more powerful than GPT 3.5, so there was so many people using it that it was dog slow, essentially, right? And so I think the whole point of this article, which I definitely recommend people to read it, is that we give a couple of situations where switching to a new model is not necessarily a good decision, and sometimes it's just better to use what is tried and tested, especially initial. No, no, go ahead. Yeah, Yeah, it could be a lot worse. Yes, or um, it could be subject to changes which are not visible to you. Like for example, this is a hypothetical example, but I believe something like this happened in the past. Imagine a situation where um, OpenAI or someone else releases a new model, and then there is a massive jailbreak that somebody on the internet they made the model do certain things that are not desirable, and now everybody's talking about this, right? And so now they need to respond, and they respond in a very heavy-handed way. For example, they start filtering certain things, tuning it, over tuning it, in fact, and now it starts breaking existing workflows, right? And it's very um, uh, you know subtle change. uh, Most of the time they're not really making any announcements about what they're changing, and all of a sudden your existing bots or existing workflows are not working anymore. And I think this is the danger with the new models. It takes a bit of time. It takes like maybe a few months to get to a point where the model is stable, and it's not subject to like additional fine tuning. It's not subject to like some scaling issues, things like that. So I'm always a bit cautious with new models. And the other one is also, I don't think it was the case with GPT 4o Mini, but almost every other model that we've seen in the past, it will be constrained by some limits. Like for example, how many tokens you can take, you can produce, infer per second, or how many requests you can make. That sort of limits, which also does not making it production ready. Yeah, I think they're a little bit better. To be honest, like for a long time, Anthropic wasn't in my good list because I was really keen to use their the models, but no, the models are great, but access to the platform wasn't great. There was a period of time where it was virtually impossible to get hold of their models, and I think this period was actually quite long. It was many many months, uh, and you could not even do it via AWS because actually the financial commitment you need to make was quite substantial. To do to deploy one of the models from Anthropic, and so I don't know. Now they're better. They're better with most of their models, especially on the AWS Bedrock models are great, but I think uh, some of the new ones they're still subject to some limits. But I think that which one right now is in my bad list, Grok, because because the models are great. I mean, if you test Grok, it works really, really well. But again, limits, you know, they have a lot of limits. But you know what's? I think that every time, because I don't think people realize uh, how good actually OpenAI are. And despite the issues, despite the fact that sometimes you have like model degradation and things like that, it is true that I would say that this is probably the only provider that can take a new model and scale it up like very quickly. I don't know how much money they lose by doing this, but it's is the most production ready platform of all. And it takes so long for all these other providers, including AWS, but for Grok, for Anthropic, it takes so long for them to actually get their models to a production state. And when I mean production, I don't mean that they don't have customers that are using production, they have production workloads. They certainly do. What I mean is that they really open it up for like uh, large scale usage by the entire community, aka the world. You know, whoever wants to use the model, they can just go in there, they pop in their card, credit card, and they can start using it. They're not there yet. The only one that I know that they can do that, the only provider that can do that is OpenAI. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. And and also one thing I need to say is that the behavior of the entire setup will change quite dramatically sometimes. Like for example, uh, let's say if you have skill sets involved or even data sets, um, with one versions of the model, you might find that the bot needs to do only a single iteration to be able to perform the action. In a different version of a different model or the same model, it might take like two or three times or two or three tries, you know. So you might see also some difference in token consumption. This could be a positive thing or a negative thing, you know. Maybe if you switch to a newer model, you'll see like reduction in cost. You know, this is what we hope for. But it could be also the complete opposite. Maybe the model is completely confused by the backstory, by the skill sets, by the data set. Really depends on how complex is your setup. And by switching over, now the overall consumption of tokens is three times uh, than before. Uh, Obviously, we don't want to be in the situation, but it could happen. Yeah, and just like switching the model. That's why one good thing for those of you who don't know, but because everything in ChatBotKit is like a Lego, if I already have a model that is working, actually, rather than changing things up here in your bot, you can just create a new one. Uh, and actually, and what you can do is that if this is your bot, if this is your existing bot that is working really well, and if you want to change to another one with the new model, you can just clone it, and you'll create a new clone, and here you can change the model to the new model, right? Yeah, A/B tested exactly. So now we have two bots. One of them, this was the original one. I didn't call it original, but you get the point. This is the, let's say, the test one. And you can test and see the performance by switching between the two bots. So if I have a widget, I can just select the new bot, which is currently in test. Or if I use the API, you can just, you know, you can create some programmatic switch. Let's say 50% of the users will use one bot, another 50% will use the other bot. And so that will give you like a really good idea of also the performance. Yeah. Uh, this reminds me, we definitely need to set up another session on how to do A/B tests, because I don't think many people know how to do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, while we're on the topic of testing, another way you can test is if you go to your conversations and pick up one of the conversations and you simulate it. You click on the simulate button, as I did, and delete some of the messages which are not relevant to you. Those I can't delete. What I can do is, for example, notice that in this test we have the model set up to GPT 3.5 Turbo. I can select to a different one. I can select a different model here, and then I can just click on the receive response, and that will produce a result, right? So you can test it like that as well. So I can change to let's say for all receive response. I mean, in this case, it doesn't actually it's not producing like significantly different response. But if you have some problematic conversations and you want to test it with a new model, you can use that as well as as a simple testing tool. Cool. Um, Now, because we updated the skill sets and the templates, obviously the documentation is updated and the widget documentation is updated. I don't think we need to go over this because I think we've discussed both. Um, but I have something else which I'm also quite excited, and I want to talk about it for a few minutes. And this is this template, and it's a super new one. And I don't know if people can. It's just for me. It's just the visual appeal, and not so much because it's a simple template. It's just called AI answers, so this part is not that exciting. But maybe it's not so easy to see on the screen. But you can notice that this template actually has this cool. Um, I don't know how to call this, like a glow effect. Uh, yeah, like a glowing gradient effect, and this makes it akin to AI. It looks a little bit like the CD effect. Uh, that we'll start seeing on the next release of iOS, I think. And yeah, you can just copy this example. But even if you don't copy the example, you already have an existing widget. I'll demonstrate here very quickly. Uh, you can simply select it from um, the team's customization options. So it's this one. And there you go. If you select this one, of course you can use some of the others, like, but you can use this one now. And I think this will create some really cool websites. And also, I think this type of border also is now associated with AI or AI applications. So I think that this gives like a visual cue to everyone that you're talking to an actual chatbot and an AI chatbot. And I don't know. I find this type of cues very interesting and cool. No idea. Yeah, I think we need to do a bit of research and maybe write a blog post about it. I don't know who it was. Yeah, I think maybe the effect was. I think this effect is old, but the effect is old. But now Apple wants to use it for Siri, right? I mean, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like a glowing shadow, like city uh, effect. I don't know if there's any images of it. Yeah, yeah, that kind of thing. Like this one. It has this thing here. It is a little bit different, but from the widget, but it's the same idea. Yeah, this one. See, yeah. But I think we can do the same. By the way, we can make this sort of like bleed into the content of the widget, and that can give like a really nice sort of AI look of those widgets, and make it. Yeah, you know what? I think this is what I think what's going to happen in the future is that I think there will be certain types of, because today, mm, I think you probably would agree with me, but there is a bit of a hesitance speaking to like AI bots. Uh, I think because they're automated, and historically these systems, these chatbots were not very good. Now this is different now with AI. It's a little bit different, but I think that there is definitely this preconception that chatbots are not doing a great job, right? And I think with the help of Apple and Siri and all this other work that is happening at the moment, I think people's perspective will change over time. And I think people will become a lot more interested to engage with these technologies on a website, because they're going to have a pleasant experience on their phone. Like, I'm pretty sure iOS will have like a pretty good Siri experience. Um, and then they would expect the same experience on some website that they land on. And they want to converse to, I don't know, the AI support bot or whatever the case is. And I think this sort of like a visual cues of bridging the gap in some sense, because now the users will be able to recognize that this is an AI system, and they will treat it with the same way they treat the Siri, right? So they will be aware of how to ask certain questions, or they're going to be aware of some of the behaviors, because let's be honest, not all these systems are not perfect yet. They can make mistakes, so you need to be patient. Sometimes you need to rephrase your question in a different way to get the right answer. Yeah. Maybe in preview, like people who might have like the iOS preview deployed on their phones. Yeah, but I agree with you. The current CD actually is it's kind of horrible. I only use it to set a timer, and sometimes it doesn't even do that. Which is same with Alexa. Alexa is crazy bad. Well, you can. I'm pretty sure you can interact with Siri from iOS if you create an iPhone app. You can. There's some way. There are ways to programs. Certain actions that are available as shortcuts, and Siri will be able to use those. But that's within the iOS ecosystem or the Apple ecosystem. Siri will do a pretty good job. Outside of it, obviously not. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and by the way, I think this is the main difference. I mean, this is my opinion. Is that I think when people discuss like um, assistants, I think the idea is that you have a single assistant. Like I have only one assistant, and I don't think of it in this way. I mean, okay, my phone will have an assistant, an AI assistant, but that's on my phone. But like at work, I'll have a different AI assistant, and in the browser, I'll have a different AI assistant. When I pop in a specific website, I'll have a so people will interact not with just one assistant. So I don't think it's going to be the case that I go and say to Siri to go and I don't know purchase some tickets. It might be able to do that. It might be able to do that by the way, but only through the features and capabilities that are available on my phone. But as you know, not everything, the entire world doesn't actually evolve around the phone. There's a lot of things that are happening in there. You might have this app, but there will be also other places where, like specific websites, specific applications, which they'll love to have their own custom assistant, different from Siri. And obviously, this is where we come in and help them out. No, even better than Siri level. Because also, I'm pretty sure the Siri will be successful in its own way, but Apple need to cater for like millions of users. They have you mean like their own custom assistant, not Siri. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and also if you combine this with generative UI technologies, that's what something also I'm very excited about, where the website is no longer just a place where you click a bunch of boxes, but it's essentially a conversational experience. I don't think it's that crazy, such a crazy idea if let's say if I type something.com and all I see in the middle is just a microphone button. I click on it and I just talk to it. I say, "Hey, I need this and that," and the website can respond and render completely new UI custom to me, uh, based on my specific instructions. So especially let's say if I'm looking to buy some I don't know tickets, rather than having like a bunch, so much information about, like different options, it could be just like a one large button in the middle of the website. I click on it and I describe exactly what I'm looking for. And then the bot will help me filter the results and get the right answers. Potentially, this could be a quick way of, especially for things that require a lot of time to get right, But this could be like a very quick way to get from A to B, through an assistant like that. Yeah. No, no, no. It will actually render the information. There's no. I don't think there's any point of actually reading it. Because it's such a slow. Uh, I think this is also very important. Is that I know that OpenAI now are deploying the new voice advanced mode, whatever they call it, and it's pretty cool. They had a cool demo, but I failed to see how this would work in everyday interactions. Because it's just so slow. It's much easier to quick because you can scan the text. I don't need, let's say, ChatGPT to read me the entire like 5-page message from the beginning. I can just simply look through it very quickly, and it takes me 2 seconds to read it and understand that that's exactly what I want, or maybe I don't want that. So I think could be like a one-sided thing, but you're right. Like the experience will be totally. I can use voice to activate the UI and to activate the agent to do something for me, but the response doesn't have to be voice, or it could be voice, but the voice could be like just a short message, just to say done or something like this, and just show you what you need to see, or it could be longer if you. Huh? It could be both. Yeah. I don't think Siri will render anything, but definitely Siri will be able to call. I think Siri will be able to interact with the applications, because as long as they're exposing, like features to as a shortcuts, that's definitely possible. So I think that with Siri, will be able to interact with your mobile applications. But going back to the point where we started, it's not going to be the only assistant in the world. And there's many reasons for this. Maybe we can write an article about it, but I can think of like at least a couple of reasons why people might choose not to do it or to use it. Like could be because I don't know, Apple wants 30% cut from all the sales from the platform. you know, it's a simple one. It's a financial reason. So not everybody's keen to sell things on the iPhone platform, and this is why embedding a widget on your website, which provides similar experience, is so beneficial, because people can still utilize an agent experience without the need of being subscribed to a specific platform, whether that's Apple or Google or whoever. And the other benefit also is that you, as an owner of this website, can control the experience, so you can make it very specific to the way you want it to behave, and to have the exact features that you need, right? So if, for example, I want to book a flight, obviously you're not going to advertise flights from other companies, but in the case of City will certainly do that. It will advertise pretty much everyone's uh, flights, which in some cases is good from a consumer perspective. In other cases, probably not so good. It really depends on the use case. Yeah, I think it's a welcome change. I always cringe when I read one of those tweets where this changes everything. Someone killed Google. That's basically not true. Actually, it does the inverse of this. So when you read something like this, I think you should think of the reverse of that effect. It will only amplify this other technology. So nobody will kill anything. So in the case of, I'm very hopeful. Like in the case of Siri being part of your phone, and now everyone has like an AI agent on their on the, in their like mobile computer. That's gonna um, um, increase the demand of people wanting to install this technology on their websites, in their applications, or in other places. And of course, if you guys are interested, ChatBotKit is here to help you with that. Um, and I think there is actually a formal name for this effect. I need to dig it out. But there is such a effect in economics. There is a formal name that basically the supply of certain goods is. I'm gonna botch this, but I'm not describing it properly. But the supply of certain goods is only increasing the demand of those goods, not the inverse. And this been tested and tried in the past, and it works in that sort of way. So if you let's say if you make oil cheap, that will mean that more people want to use oil, and this means that it will increase the demand for oil. So it's simple as that. And democratizing this technology is just increasing the demand of this technology. So the more AI that is out there, the more there will be need for new AI and more AI. Everything will be AI at the end of the day. Yeah, the catalyst. Mhm. Yeah. They'll create even more demand. Yes. Um, so that's definitely even more demand. So yeah, cool. And it's exciting. Yes, if anyone wants to use this new template, feel free to do so. I think we might actually change our bot to this template because it's so cool. But I think also we need to do. Yeah, the devil is in the details. So uh yeah, I'm also pretty. I know this is like like a very basic feature, but I also think that it just it just makes these widgets a little bit more alive, and also I think it gives us also for us a bit of a food for thought of how to make these widgets more alive. More alive and actually enhancing um, people's experience on any website, and it's just not like some parrot, where you need to ask questions and replies back and repeats the same message over and over again. It needs to feel alive, like a living thing. Um, and so yeah, I think this is the first step. And it is a combination, not just the underlying technology like the large language models, the skill sets, the great backstory, the connection between all these dispersed systems, but also how this is presented to the user. I think the user experience also matters a lot to make something feel real. Cool. Yeah, yeah. And those of you who know how to put together these demos, they realize that a lot of these demos are nothing new under the sun. It's just a very well put. The technology was put together in a very good way, but it was certainly possible before that. So I think there's more effort, especially around ChatGPT. I think there's a tremendous amount of effort around the user experience, more than people think, because they think it's all about large language models and or the this multi models. I think yeah, that's important too, but there's a large part, also a lot of work goes into the actual user experience as well. Um, you don't think about it because it works. That's why, because the actual work works. Yeah, cool. I think this pretty much covers all the changes this week, and next week we're doing more streams on a daily basis. We're gonna go over some technical aspects of the platform, maybe build a few cool examples. And for those of you who are listening to this, um, yeah, I just want to say that you know, please expect more content from us. We are making this. Uh, we're putting ourselves in this sort of environment so that we can interact with the public and with our customers as well, and also to allow serendipity to kick in. So through these conversations are not staged. We're just basically talking about stuff, uh, and that's how we want them to be. Ah, exactly. It's not scripted, but there will be a few videos which will be we're gonna release that summary of this information. So you don't need to watch the full 1 hour if you don't want to. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Next Friday we do it again until we become very good at this. Awesome, great. Yeah, thanks, Nick, and thanks, Ivana, for joining and listening. And well, let's switch off. And yeah, have a good weekend.